How's it going, everybody? My name is Lucky Buns, and in today's video we're going to be covering the best Pokemon to use your Elite TMs on in Pokemon GO Great League Edition. So this is going to be a supplemental video to my top Pokemon to Elite TM for the Raid/Gym meta, in addition to Master League. If you guys haven't watched that video yet, I would highly recommend watching that one first, as it covers all the fundamentals that you need to know about Elite TMs and how to get them. So basically this video is just going to be focused on the featured Pokemon and their meta relevance in the Open Great League, and if we can actually get this video past 300 likes, I'll do one of these as well for the Open Ultra League. Typically PvP videos don't do super well on the channel, so I just want to make sure that there's enough interest. And if you guys have any suggestions for future videos, let me know in the comment section down below as well. Now there are two main things I want to go over before we dive into the featured Pokemon. The first one is going to be a warning/disclaimer, as the meta changes every season in Pokemon GO, which is about every 3 months. Many of the Pokemon that I'm going to cover in this video have remained in the meta, but it can easily lose its relevance from a meta shakeup, so just keep that in mind. That being said though, there are going to be some Pokemon that are really difficult to remove from the meta. A great example of this is going to be Registeel. Registeel is also one of the tougher Pokemon to get good IVs on in the Great League, because you have to trade with somebody in order to get a decent IV spread. The main reason for this is because the floor IVs from raid battles are 10-10-10, which is not ideal for PvP. And actually, now that I think about it, I should probably go over PvP IVs really quick before we get into anything else. So basically, you want to have low attack IVs and high defense and high stamina IVs. The reason for this is because this allows you to level up your Pokemon the most before it actually hits the CP limit for Great League or Ultra League. Now there are going to be some Pokemon that are exceptions because their max CP does not reach the limit, in which case you just want to have the best possible IVs, which is going to be 15-15-15 or a hundo. Now in this video, we're mainly just going to be focused on 0-15-15 as a general IV spread to aim for your PvP IVs. If you guys want to actually find out the rank 1 IVs for any specific Pokemon, I'm going to leave a link to a website down below. Now finally, I do want to go over one last thing, and that's going to be December Calm Day. Every year during December, we get an event that features all the Calm Day Pokemon from that year, and in addition to that, we can also evolve and get the legacy movesets on the Calm Day Pokemon from the previous year. So basically, if you catch any Pokemon that meet this criteria, it's better to actually hold them until this event so you can save more Elite TMs for other Pokemon. In my opinion, the raid exclusive movesets have become more of a commodity as Pokemon GO has progressed forward. I kind of feel like Niantic has done this intentionally too. So typically, if you need a legacy or a signature move on a legendary Pokemon, it's a lot more of a worthy investment compared to a Calm Day legacy move, unless it's a really old Calm Day legacy move. So with that being said, that's basically everything I feel like you guys need to know before we jump into the featured Pokemon now. I'm going to probably alter this format in the future, but again, if there's anything you feel like I left out, let me know in the comment section down below. That being said, let's start off first with our Fire-type Pokemon. So first up, let's go over Talonflame, which is going to have Incinerate as the legacy fast move. Incinerate is a legacy Calm Day move, so I believe it had a Calm Day during like 2020 or 2021. It's definitely been some time. I don't really feel like you can run Talonflame if you don't have Incinerate, so definitely a top Pokemon that I would recommend giving an Elite Fast TM to. Not to mention, I'm sure most of you guys probably have an excess amount of Elite Fast TMs compared to Elite Charge TMs, so definitely a worthy investment. Next up, we got Alolan Marowak and Shadow Alolan Marowak. I am going to cover Shadow Pokemon in this video, by the way, but I'm not going to go into them like in detail. I'm just going to kind of go over if it's actually worth investing into it. In the case of Alolan Marowak, I would definitely say that the Shadow is worth investing into. This Pokemon has definitely been a staple in Great League since the very beginning. Like, I'm talking like season 0, guys. It's pretty cool that it's actually still relevant in the meta right now. Now this past season, Shadowbone actually got buffed from 75 damage to 80 damage, so definitely a nice upgrade for Alolan Marowak to kind of bring it back into the meta. It was pretty absent for a while, so definitely a Pokemon that I would say at the current timeline is worth investing into. Next up, we got Blaziken and Charizard. So I'm going to talk about Blaziken first here. Now, Blaziken for the Great League is a little bit different than Blaziken for the Ultra League. Again, we can talk about that later in the Ultra League video. Don't forget to hit that like button if you haven't done so already. Blaziken in the Open Great League is just going to need Blast Burn, though that's pretty much the only thing that you want to focus on here. It also wants to be paired with Blaze Kick. Now, if you don't have Blast Burn on your Blaziken, you can still run it with Blaze Kick plus Brave Bird. Now, we definitely have an interesting one coming up, and that's going to be Charizard, which kind of has a wide range of movesets, so let's just take a look at this right now. So Charizard, you ideally want to have Wing Attack plus Blast Burn. That is going to be a double legacy move, guys, so that's tricky, and the reason for that is because it also has access to Dragon Breath, which is a Calm Day exclusive moveset. Now my Charizard right here, I have Dragon Breath plus Blast Burn and Dragon Claw. Of course, you ideally want to have Wing Attack, that's for the best coverage, but I just haven't bothered to give it the Elite TM. I don't really run Great League that often anymore, so it's not really on the top of my priority list, but if you guys do want to have a good Charizard to use in the Open Great League, then Wing Attack plus Blast Burn and then Dragon Claw is going to be the ideal moveset. You could also run Fire Spin or Dragon Dragon Breath if you want to mix it up depending on what you're actually seeing in the meta. This is more of a strategic choice though. You know, if we're just going off what PvPoke says, then Wing Attack is going to be the preferred fast move to go with. But once again, guys, you can totally mix and match these movesets. You don't have to run Wing Attack, so if you just want to give it Blast Burn, that's totally valid. And Shadow Charizard is pretty good as well. If we look at the comparison here between Shadow and the regular, we can see that it does take some different matchups. Like the Shadow actually takes a matchup against Registeel, whereas the regular one does not. So definitely a nice win for Shadow Charizard. So fire types out of the way, we have grass type Pokemon coming up next. We have a lot more in this category, so buckle up. So our first Pokemon is going to be Serperior with Frenzy Plant. Now we do actually have a lot of Pokemon on this list that do require Frenzy Plant. We have Serperior, Venusaur, Meganium, Decidueye, Chestnut. Now Frenzy Plant is definitely going to be a must on a lot of these Pokemon. Like your other options really aren't good. Like for Chestnut here, it does have access to Energy Ball and Solar Beam, but I mean, again, like Frenzy Plant is going to be superior on pretty much everything. And that wasn't a play on words, it just kind of happened to work out. But as of right now, Serperior is actually the best grass type to use in the Open Great League, which is kind of crazy to be honest, because when this Pokemon first came out, it wasn't that good. Now the reason why this is so important is because a lot of the comparable Pokemon, for example, like Venusaur, it's grass and poison. Meganium is actually pure grass type, but it's not nearly as good as Serperior. Chestnut is going to be grass and fighting, and then Decidueye is grass and ghost. So yeah, it's like Serperior definitely has the edge there because it's a pure grass type Pokemon, not to mention it also has access to flying type moves. Most of the other grass type starters here don't have access to any flying type moves. So basically in order here, according to PvPoke in the current timeline, Serperior is the best grass type you guys can go with. Chestnut is going to be the next best option, followed by Meganium and then Venusaur. Honestly speaking though, Venusaur in my opinion is the staple for Great League grass type Pokemon. This thing is the MVP. Since the beginning, honestly, this thing has had meta relevance and it's kind of maintained a decent spot in the overall meta, so you really can't go too wrong with this Pokemon, not to mention it's very cheap to build. All these starter Pokemon are very cheap to build, so really not too resource intensive outside of the Elite TM. Next up, let's talk about Victory Bell. Both the regular and the Shadow version are both ranked within the top 200 Pokemon. They're not too far away from each other either. Now, Magical Leaf was the recent Calm Day exclusive moveset, so if you guys do want to actually evolve your Bellsprout to get Magical Leaf, I wouldn't bother giving it the Elite TM right now because you can just evolve it during December Calm Day to actually get it. Now, one thing I really want to point out though is a difference between Magical Leaf and Razor Leaf, as Razor Leaf is kind of the preferred move that I like to go with. If we take a look down here, Magical Leaf has general usage, whereas Razor Leaf has heavy damage. So heavy damage is kind of what I really like using in Pokemon Go right now, at least for GBL. So I mean, that's the moveset I would recommend going with, so I don't even really recommend Magical Leaf, but according to the Sims here, Magical Leaf is kind of what you want to focus on. Magical Leaf plus Leaf Blade and an Acid Spray. Acid Spray will debuff the opponent's defense by 2 stages guaranteed, which is a really, really good moveset to have. So yeah, I mean, honestly, Victory Bell, Shadow Victory Bell, both are going to be excellent choices to invest into. Magical Leaf is definitely debatable on it though. I wouldn't actually recommend giving it the Elite TM. I would just wait until December Calm Day if you really want to get your hands on one of these. Next up, let's talk about Jumpluff. The Shadow version and the regular version are both ranked pretty well. Now, the interesting thing for Jumpluff is that it got access to Fairy Wind, which definitely gave it a nice boost in the meta. The exclusive Calm Day moveset is going to be Acrobatics. Actually, I gotta update my one right now. It doesn't have Fairy Wind. Let me change that. Boom. All right, so now it's good to go. Fairy Wind plus Acrobatics and Energy Ball is going to be the ideal moveset on it. There are going to be 2 more Pokemon I'm going to go over, but according to PvPoke, they're not ranked super well. But in my opinion, I think they're definitely worth at least kind of considering. The first one is going to be Roserade with Bullet Seed plus Weather Ball. Those were both exclusive Calm Day movesets. You had to evolve to get them both. So if you didn't get them, I mean, I wouldn't really worry about giving them the Elite TMs, but if you actually have a really good IV spread, Bullet Seed plus Weather Ball is a pretty deadly combo. Quick Attack was definitely a nice upgrade for Leafeon. Unfortunately, it seems like Bullet Seed is a Calm Day exclusive moveset as well. I don't remember which Calm Day it was, the first one or the second one for Eevee, but I'm gonna have to consider that one later. So if you're a Leafeon fan, definitely a decent Pokemon to have in the Open Great League now, which is kind of cool. So I feel like the Grass type category felt a little overwhelming, but no, that's nothing compared to the Water type category, guys. This is gonna be the biggest category in this video, so really buckle up for this one. So in my opinion, I feel like the MVP that we should first take a look at is gonna be Swampert as well as Shadow Swampert. This is the GOAT, guys. Like Mudshot plus Hydro Cannon and Earthquake, or Mudshot plus Hydro Cannon and Sludge Wave. Both are excellent movesets depending on the meta, and honestly, Swampert has remained in one of the top spots for a very, very long time. So in terms of worthy Pokemon to give Elite TMs to, I feel like Swampert is probably one of the few Pokemon that is going to hold up despite the meta changes. The next Pokemon I want to focus on is going to be Feraligatr with Shadow Claw. So this was a nice buff for Feraligatr. Like, this propelled it to the top of the meta. Feraligatr was like niche at best before in the Ultra League, But now for the Open Great League as well as the Open Ultra League, Shadow Feraligatr, regular Feraligatr, both are going to be top picks to give Hydro Cannon if you don't already have it on your Feraligatr. We also have Quagsire with Aqua Tail, which I'll go over next, which is ranked super well. We have Shadow as well as the regular version. I don't currently have the Shadow version. I somehow just transferred all my Wooper before that calm day, and yeah, that was a big mistake. I should have definitely saved one. Some very good play with Quagsire. Really solid play all around. Steel Wing actually got a buff this past season, which made Empoleon that much better. I mean, before it wasn't even ranked within the top 100 in Great League. Next up, we got Poliwrath in its Shadow form as well as its regular form. Both are going to be really good, guys. Counter is going to be a really important move to have on your Poliwrath, so if you guys do have those Elite Fast TMs, definitely a worthy one, whether you go with the Shadow or the regular, both are going to be solid. Following that, let's talk about Great Ninja next. So this one did recently have a calm day last year, so if you guys do want to evolve and get the moveset on your Great Ninja, just wait until December for this one. I wouldn't actually recommend giving it the Elite TM. Very similar to some of our other water-type Pokemon, Samurott also requires Hydro Cannon as well, although the difference here is that it's not going to be a water ground type like Swampert. It is going to be a pure water type Pokemon, but it also has access to Fairy Cutter and Mega Horn, so it has access to a bug type move pool, opposed to a ground type move pool or an ice type move pool. Kind of weird for a water type Pokemon, but I feel like that's what makes Samurott so unique. So in my opinion, it's a really cool Pokemon to have. I mean, you might use it in various scenarios, but I wouldn't say it's like a top recommendation to give Hydro Cannon. I feel like Swampert, Feraligatr, Quagsire, and Empoleon are all going to be much better options to go with. The next one is actually a really fun Pokemon, and that's going to be Politoed. So I actually built a Shadow Politoed a very long time ago, and it was one of the best Elite TMs I gave. It was like really early on too, so I didn't even have that many Elite TMs, but Earthquake was so solid. Like Mudshot plus Water Weather Ball plus Earthquake, man, that is such a deadly combo for Shadow Politoed. Like, I got so many wins using this thing. Honestly, Poliwrath, Politoed, a very solid Pokemon for PvP. To be honest, there really isn't that much to say about Blastoise. Like, yeah, you could totally run Blastoise if you wanted to, but compared to your other options, like Feraligatr is basically just Blastoise but better. It has access to Hydro Cannon and Ice Beam as well, except it has access to Shadow Claw, which again, much better. Gyarados. Gyarados is a much better option actually. So Gyarados is really good with Aqua Tail. I feel like this one goes in and out of the meta so often, but right now it's ranked in the top 200, which isn't the greatest for it, I'll be honest here, but it has been ranked like within the top 100, top 50 before. And Dragon Breath plus Aqua Tail and Crunch seems to be the recommended moveset right now. That's actually the one I have on my Gyarados for the Great League, but I know you could run this with a lot of different movesets. It has access to Waterfall as well, which is really solid. Yeah, heavy damage right there. There really isn't anything better in terms of water type coverage. Like Hydro Pump, I've seen some people use Hydro Pump, but I don't even really know why. Aqua Tail is what you want to go with if you want to run Gyarados. Now we do have one more Pokemon before we go into some very interesting picks, and that's going to be Tapu Fini, which recently got access to Nature's Madness. Now one very important thing to mention about Tapu Fini is that you have to trade it in order to get it below 1500 CP, otherwise you can't use it in the Great League, because when you catch it from raid battles, it is going to be above 1500 CP. Now, I'm sure at some point in the future, we are going to be able to get it from research, like some sort of event research where you can get it at level 15 instead, opposed to level 20, which means that it will be below 1500 CP, then you don't have to trade it. Although, again, the IVs are going to be floored at 10, 10, 10, and that's not really ideal for Great League. So basically my recommendation here is that if you do want to actually give Tapu Fini Nature's Madness, you're not going to be able to do it from raid battles. You're going to have to trade Tapu Fini with somebody else, preferably somebody at like Great or Ultra Fen level, and then hope that you get low attack plus high defense and high stamina. It's kind of a difficult ask, I'm not gonna lie, but it's very much worth it. Now, our last Pokemon for the water type category is going to be Seaking, which is actually a triple threat, guys. It's gonna be a triple legacy moveset Pokemon, Poison Jab plus Drill Run and Icy Wind. This thing is not like super relevant right now in the overall Great League meta, but I know that in Special Cups it does tend to have its play, and to be honest, if there's any Pokemon that I feel like is just kind of really fun to have, it's probably going to be Seaking because it's a triple legacy moveset. There's a lot of investing right there, and I have a pretty good IV spread on my Goldeen right here, so I could totally make that investment, but I haven't done it yet. I just don't really run Great League that often, otherwise I feel like I would totally do it for Seaking. Now, I could be wrong about this, but I believe that Seaking is the only Pokemon in game that requires 3 Elite TMs. There's no other Pokemon that requires this many. I feel like the toughest part of the video is behind us now. Honestly, going through those water types was a freaking headache, man. But now let's talk about some of our electric type options. We only have 2 here, and that is going to be Zapdos and Luxray. So Luxray has access to Psychic Fangs, which is going to be a Calm Day exclusive moveset, and then Zapdos has access to Thunder Shock, which is going to be a fast move. This was a raid exclusive moveset, and I believe we only got access to it one time, maybe twice. To be honest, I feel like it's much easier to get a Shadow Zapdos with a good IV spread opposed to a regular Zapdos just because of the floor IVs from raids, but you know, ultimately when it comes down to it, it's totally up to you guys. I feel like I would definitely build one in the future, although at the current timeline, I think I'll hold on to my resources. Next up, let's take a look at our flying type options. We don't really have anything good in the poison type category that requires an Elite TM. Maybe Slowbro if you really wanted to count it, like Galarian Slowbro, but that's very, very niche, so I don't think I'm going to include that in this video. Flying types, though, we do have Pidgeot, which has access to Wing Attack as the legacy moveset there. Now, one thing I'm kind of salty about when it comes down to Pidgeot is that Gust used to be the preferred fast move to go with, which is also a legacy move, but Wing Attack got the recent buff, so now Wing Attack is the preferred moveset to go with. It's a little unfortunate because I already used an Elite Fast TM on 2 Pidgeot, my Great League one as well as my Ultra League one, and yeah, it kind of sucks that I have to give them 2 more Elite Fast TMs if I want to play them again. It is the nature of this game, though. I can't really help it. Like I talked about in the beginning of this video, guys, like meta shakeups happen all the time, and Pokemon that were once very good can definitely get replaced or even have their movesets replaced. Our next Pokemon is going to be Umbreon with Last Resort as the Calm Day exclusive moveset. We also have Psychic as well, which I feel like some of you guys may have on your Umbreon. This moveset does have some niche play, like Psychic and Last Resort are used in different scenarios, but I feel like for general coverage, Last Resort is going to be the better moveset to go with. I do actually have 2 rank 1 Umbreon because Eevee was such an accessible Pokemon for like the longest time, so getting rank 1s on Eevee wasn't that difficult, but for Umbreon I have both Last Resort and Psychic. I actually have the Psychic one built for some reason instead of the Last Resort one. I don't know why. I think at the time Psychic was just better. Now our next Pokemon is definitely a big one, but it's also a very inaccessible Pokemon for many. That's going to be Cresselia with Psycho Cut plus Grass Knot as the legacy moveset. This was a raid exclusive moveset if I'm not mistaken. And let me just tell you this right now, it is very difficult to get this thing below 1500 CP. I believe there are only 2 ways to do it. We had a special research recently during the Sinnoh Tour, and then other than that, you pretty much have to just trade for it, which is very, very slim. I'm telling you that right now. It's very slim to get this thing below 1500. Like, you gotta get a really, really low IV spread. But if you can, then regardless of the IV spread that you actually get, Cresselia becomes playable, and it's that much better to use in the Open Great League. This is probably the only Pokemon in this video that I'm going to tell you just to ignore the IVs on it, because if you can actually get it below 1500 CP, that is a massive win. Like, just using Cresselia alone in the Open Great League is huge. Now our next Pokemon is going to be Charjabug. So this Pokemon is actually really, really solid to use in the Open Great League. And I believe Charjabug also had a Calm Day last year towards the end of the year, so we should be able to get the Legacy moveset on it during December this year. I don't really have that much to say about Charjabug since I haven't actually played it myself, but I've heard a lot of good things about it, and you know, it's a pretty accessible Pokemon, doesn't require that much Stardust to power it up. Now we also have Beedrill as a pick as well for the bug type category with the Calm Day exclusive moveset Drill Run. This one is pretty solid. I have used this one myself. Now as far as our fighting type Pokemon go, we have some options on here, although I don't really think that they're that great of picks. We have Conkeldurr and then Machoke, like not even Machamp, Machoke with Cross Chop. They both have play technically within the top 200, but I feel like they're on the latter end of it, so I don't know, like you could give it to them if you really want to. I feel like Machoke is kind of a lost cause, but some people really like it. Conkeldurr does have more variety to it, Counter plus Dynamic Punch and Brutal Swing. That's a little bit more coverage compared to just a straight fighting type like Machoke. It's totally up to you guys if you want to build it. Conkeldurr did actually have a Calm Day last year, so if you guys want to just wait and evolve it during December, that's a much better alternative. I don't think I'd give this one an Elite TM, to be honest. Next up, we got Lickitung with the exclusive moveset Body Slam. I believe this is going to be a legacy moveset from 2016. Now, Lickitung with Body Slam, I mean, this is, as you can see on screen right now, it is one of the top Pokemon to have in the Great League, so very much a worthy pick to give the Elite TM to. Now, unfortunately though, Lickitung is on the more expensive side, so if you guys do decide to build it, you are going to need a lot of extra large candy. I believe the max amount, with the right IV spread, of course. I unfortunately have not got the right IV spread on my Lickitung yet, so I'm still kind of waiting, but I have gotten pretty close to getting enough extra large candy. Now when it comes down to Sandslash, regular Sandslash or Kanto Sandslash isn't that good in the Great League meta. Like, it does have some play in its shadow form. It's like barely making the cut here with the shadow form with Night Slash. These are both Calm Day exclusive movesets, and I believe it was 2021 when we got them. Now the main Pokemon that you really want to focus on is going to be Alolan Sandslash. Unfortunately, I don't actually have the Shadow version, but I do have the regular version, which is almost built. I just haven't given it the second charge move. I just haven't really needed to use it. So basically though, Shadow Claw is very important for Alolan Sandslash. I mean, its comparable options are Powder Snow and Metal Claw, which really aren't that good for it, so Shadow Claw is a very, very important move to have, and Alolan Sandslash is a worthy Pokemon to give it to. Now our next option is going to be a very interesting one. That's going to be Dewgong with Ice Shard plus Icy Wind. Both are going to be legacy movesets, so these are both 2016 legacy movesets. Now we did actually have a GBL day a few years ago where we were able to evolve our Seal to get both of these legacy movesets, and I evolved a few extras, so if you guys ever meet me in person at any of the in-person events, I'd be happy to give you one of these. I have like 7 of them, and I'm probably not going to meet anybody who actually wants them. I mean, for that matter, if you want any of these legacy Pokemon that aren't legendary Pokemon, seriously, just ask for them. I would totally be happy to give them to you. Now that being said though, if you guys didn't actually evolve to get Dewgong with the double Elite TM, is it actually worth it? I mean, to be honest, it's ranked pretty well. 111 is not bad for the Open Great League. It covers Altaria, Skarmory, Wishcash, Dragonair, Azumarill. All of those are really solid picks. So, I mean, yeah, if you want to add some spice to your Great League team, Dewgong is going to be an excellent investment. And then finally, for our Ice type category, we have Walrein as well. I have both of these built. Actually, sorry, I don't have the Shadow one built. But Walrein used to be really solid in the overall meta, I believe before Icicle Spear got nerfed, which was definitely justified. I mean, like, Icicle Spear was extremely OP. Like, Walrein used to be, I believe, within like the top 10 for the Open Great League meta as well as the Open Ultra League meta. It was a monster, and that nerf was definitely coming. But that being said, Walrein is still a pretty good Pokemon to build for the Open Great League, whether you go with the Shadow or the regular one. Powder Snow plus Icicle Spear is a double legacy moveset though, just like Dewgong. So it is kind of a high investment. I probably wouldn't build it. I mean, if you have it, great. If you don't, it's kind of expensive, I'm not gonna lie, when it comes down to Elite TMs. We are slowly coming towards the end of this list, which is actually really nice for me because I feel like I had no idea how to format this video, and I just hope that it came out decent. I'm gonna try and make these better in the future. So Registeel is currently the #1 Pokemon in the Open Great League with Lock On plus Focus Blast and the legacy moveset Zap Cannon that's gonna be a raid exclusive moveset, which I believe has come back a few times. That being said though, just like some of the other legendary Pokemon, you do have to trade with somebody in order to get the ideal PvP IVs, low attack plus high defense and high stamina. The Registeel I currently have right now is probably the best IV spread I think I'm going to get. It's 5 attack plus 15 defense and then 8 HP. Comparing that to 10-10-10, that's a much better IV spread. Although it's not really ideal, to be honest, I could get this much lower. There are some people out there who trade with like Great or Ultra Friends and get it as low as like 2 or 3 attack. That being said though, when it comes down to giving it the Elite TM, if you actually get the right IV spread on your Registeel, it is 100% worth giving it Zap Cannon. Like, without a doubt, this is probably the best Pokemon on this entire list that is worth giving it the Elite TM to. Registeel has maintained its meta relevance for such a long time. Like, it has gone in and out of the meta, but it's always stayed within like the top 100. It is just so good. Altaria is going to be our last official Pokemon on this list. We do have 2 more Pokemon to go over, but they're more of exceptions, I guess. So Altaria is definitely a solid pick to have. Even if you don't have Moonblast on it, you can still run it with a Dazzling Gleam, I believe. I used to run Altaria a decent amount in the Open Great League, and to be honest, I wouldn't really use Moonblast or Dazzling Gleam that often. Like, they would be very niche scenarios, but I would always be glad that I had them. That being said though, like when it comes down to giving the Elite TM to Altaria, I don't really feel like you need to do it. I feel like you can definitely get away with Dazzling Gleam. Now finally, the last 2 Pokemon that I want to go over are going to be Mew as well as Hypno, which have very, very big move pools. Considering how big Mew's move pool actually is, if you want to give an Elite TM to your Mew just to get the right moveset without burning through like 30 or 50 charge TMs, it is understandable, like if you have an excess amount of Elite TMs. For example, on screen right now you can tell that I have almost the optimal moveset on my Mew. It's a Shadow Claw plus Flame Charge and Surf, although this Mew is actually like level 40, so I can't even use it in Great League. That was a mistake I made a very long time ago before I got into PvP. I didn't think I was ever going to use Mew in the Great League, and turns out Mew is one of the best Pokemon to use because of its versatility. Like, there's so many different movesets on Mew. Like, let's take a look at this, right? Look how long that list is, man. That's ridiculous. The beautiful thing about running Mew is that it's so unpredictable. Like, if you decide to go with an option that isn't meta, for example, the current moveset is recommended Shadow Claw, Wild Charge, and Surf. If you decide to go with any of these other options, your opponent is not going to anticipate it. So it's definitely something to use to your advantage if you can, but it's also another reason why I wouldn't really recommend giving Elite TMs to Mew. Like, I know it may be tempting, but if you just kind of have fun with it, then, you know, let your charge TMs and RNG take the wheel. With that being said, everybody, that's basically everything that I have for you guys. I do apologize that this video wasn't formatted as good as some of my other videos. I'm still kind of figuring out the format for some of these PvP videos. So as always, guys, if you have any feedback on how I can make this type of video better, let me know in the comment section down below. But other than that, that's basically everything I have for you guys. If you still want to check out some more content, watch these 2 videos right here. But before you go, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe, and I'll see you all real soon in the next one.